Hello there, it's Gabby here for you from Confidence After Cancer. And in this week's podcast, I've got a really interesting guest, a lady with quite, an interesting backstory. But the real thing we want to talk about this week is body confidence, because for a lot of people that I talk to, whether they're a cancer survivor or whether they're a midlife person, the thing that can come up so many times is body confidence, lack of body confidence, struggles with body confidence, always, sometimes comparing yourself to other people can be such a dangerous thing. So I've got an expert in this week, and my guest is Belinda Warburton. Belinda is known affectionately as B. She's a lovely, bubbly character who's going to come on in a minute and talk to us about a little bit about her journey, but also about the work that she does and how she helps people with body confidence. She is an internationally certified and accredited body confidence coach, and also she's the owner of Bee's Boutique. She has spent a large part of her life in a spiral of low self-esteem, body hatred, and diet prison. So she's speaking from experience. She speaks from the heart. She really does. She's a very authentic person, and she's just a wonderful person to connect with. And B says, 10 years ago, I stepped out of my fear and I started my journey to find a better way of life and build unshakable body confidence. It's been amazing. I never knew I could be so happy just as I am. And now I want to help other ladies like you to feel the same. So how wonderful is that? That's the introduction to Belinda. I'm going to introduce her in a minute, and I can't wait for you to listen to what she's got to say. She's got so many nuggets of information. The podcast with B is about 30 minutes. There's so much more we could have talked about, and I'll probably have her on the podcast again as a guest, because she was just wonderful and so easy to talk to. Such an absolute pleasure. So let's go over and meet B. Thank you. Hello there, Belinda. So I'm now going to introduce you to Belinda, and it was lovely to see you online, Belinda. How are you doing?
I'm doing absolutely fine. Thank you so much, Gabby, for having me on. It's really exciting to be here, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too. And as I've said in the introduction, body image is a topic that comes up time and time again. And I think it's probably, the number one thing that breast cancer survivors are struggling with. But I also think, I've got a lot of friends that are my age, maybe I like to think midlife women. And it's a common theme, isn't it? It's such a common theme for a lot of women, maybe really men as well. I don't know.
Yeah, it's changing all the time as well. But a lot of it does come down to image and body shapes and weights and things like that, which is not necessarily where it starts, but it's how we notice it. Yes, absolutely.
It's interesting. I'm going a little bit off topic here, but I remember years ago when I first went on holiday with my friend, and I was quite large and busty, and she was very slim and flat stomach. And I was like, oh my goodness, I had this thought running in my head for quite a long time. I'm going to have to go on holiday with this, and she's going to look fabulous in a bikini. And one night we'd had a few drinks, and she let me know that she'd had this thought in her mind: I'm going to have to go on holiday with this woman, and she's got big boobs and I haven't. And so we were both running different stories, both wanting what the other one had. Yes, why can't we just be happy with how we are? But yeah, I digress.
Probably still quite normal today as well, wanting what we haven't got.
Yeah, it probably is. So as I say, it's lovely to meet you, Belinda. I'd like really to start off with, tell the podcast listeners a little bit about yourself, the sort of work that you do, and how did you get into this work? Because I'm really interested to hear that.
Okay, so I am now a body confidence coach, and I've been qualified for over a year. And how did I get into it? Well, lifelong body confidence issues from 11 years old. Really, because I've always been curvy. I'm not going to say I was always overweight, because I certainly wasn't. But like you were just saying there, I felt that everybody was slimmer, flatter. You know what I mean? And yeah, I grew up in a household where I'm one of three sisters, mum and dad, and me and my middle sister take after my dad. My mum and my eldest sister are very alike, so they're quite slim. Me and Nikki were always curvy, and she was put on a diet at 8 years old.
Oh, yeah. Ouch.
Yes. Yeah. She was overweight. It was a long story, but yeah, she was. So, and she's 6 years older than me. So I'd grown up with diets all my life, from as young as, I can remember, really. And that became part of my life. We were close because we're all close as a family, but similar body shapes. So we resonated with each other. And so our whole world really, not just, obviously we were great sisters, but resonated around what's the next diet, what's the next thing we're going to do, how are we going to do it, etc. And even, both of us got married, and I have always been seen as this life and soul of the party, the big party girl, the happy go. She's always happy, always this, that, and the other. But unfortunately, in my first marriage, I really wasn't that person. That was my cloak and my mask, which sort of kept me safe until it didn't keep me safe anymore, until failed shopping trips, not being able to find clothes, would send me home. I would lock myself in the bedroom. I would cry. There's lots of things that happened. And so I was either the really happy-go-lucky Belinda, or I was the really miserable, fed-up, unhappy Belinda. There was no happy medium then. And that led me to consider whether I wanted to be here anymore. And I was about 27. And I don't know what happened the next day, but I woke up knowing that wasn't a healthy thought, and that I needed to do something. But I wouldn't go to the doctors, too embarrassed. There's no way I was going to go to the doctors. I'd heard about counselling, and so I found some. After sort of a couple of phone calls, I found someone who didn't feel like they were judging me, or, And I had 2 years of counselling, which was fabulous for my prior issues, which helped a little bit with my confidence, but not particularly with my body confidence. Because my prior issues were more, this does lead into body confidence, about not feeling worthy. I had 2 sisters, one who is incredibly clever, letters after her name, and the other one, which was Nikki, who was always going to marry and have children. And I didn't want children, and I wasn't really academically bright. So where do you sit? I just didn't feel like I belonged. And I wanted to be an actress. My mum told me that wasn't a job. I thought she meant I wasn't good enough. So things just really led to my life then. But after having the counselling, I did actually leave my husband because I'd married him for the wrong reasons. Broke his heart, filled myself with a load more guilt, and then moved on, as you do, and married my husband now. I've been married to 20 years, a little way down the line. And when we were about 5 years in, I think, my husband's a painter and decorator. And I had
so is mine. I didn't know that. Yeah.
There you go. I had a phone call to say he'd fallen 30 foot off his ladder, and he had 2 bleeds on his brain and a fractured skull. And I had to come because he may not survive the night. So that was a shock, to say the least. And feels very surreal. When I talk about it now, I get goosebumpy. It's horrible. Thankfully, he did survive the night. But if you know anything about brain injuries, you'll know that the recovery process and the person that they are afterwards is never the person they were before. So it's like being married to a whole new man. And it was hard work. And at that time, I was working for a leading weight loss company in a managerial position, worked a lot of hours, and I had to step down. I couldn't balance. I needed to be around for my husband. So stepped down to be a leader, and I stayed like that for a while. And at that point, I'd lost, first time ever in my life, I've lost a reasonable amount of weight. And it wasn't long after I started putting it back on. And people say, oh, well, you comfy eating. I wasn't hardly eating anything at all, to be honest with you. I was just so worried. But actually, what I then found out, I was feeling really poorly. So I was about 38. I was 38. I went to the doctors and they did some blood tests. And then I had this lovely conversation that said, I sat in front of a male doctor. Yeah, well, we've done your blood tests. And I didn't know what they were for. He said, you're through menopause. And I went, sorry. And to be perfectly honest with you, I knew very little about it. My mother had never spoken to us about it. I don't even know. I assume she went through it, or women do, but I have no idea how, why, or whatever. And it was a shock, a real shock. And then there was a whole load of stuff that came with that. You know, he was very blunt. You know, I said, can I do it naturally? He said, not if you want to look like 50 when you're 40. You've got a history of osteoporosis. So that's, you know, and I got referred to a specialist. Thankfully, the specialist was a female. She was fabulous. But it was a huge turning point in my life because we know that he's early, and that comes with its risks and its problems. And then at that point, I sort of decided I probably wouldn't have children. But when someone says to you, you can't, it's a bit different. So after a week of being very upset, and I know it's awful, but I sat there and I said to him, oh my God, you're old. Because that's what I associate menopause. Obviously, I know different.
Of course you do. Of course you do, yeah.
And it was hideous. It really was. And I didn't find out until not many years ago, actually, when I did a bit of research, because I couldn't understand why it wasn't, it's not hereditary in my family. Like, it wasn't a hereditary thing. So why did it happen to me? And I didn't realize that when you put your body into major shock, or when your body's put in major shock, it can actually onset all kind of illnesses.
Oh, wow.
Menopause is one of them.
Yeah, of course.
And I think obviously when you look at the timeline and everything, that's probably what it coincided with. So at that point, I gave up the corporate work. I couldn't do it anymore. Wade, when you go to a management meeting and all of the managers are taking laxatives or not eating anything for 2 days, or it's not a healthy environment. That's supposed to be the leading weight loss environment. It's not good. So I left and started my own business. Bit of a gamble, I'll be honest with you. But I started the boutique, and it started a journey for me.
Brilliant.
A real sort of change around my life, and started not straight away to be body confident. That would be an absolute lie, but got better because now I could buy clothes that I could wear that I actually liked, that I didn't feel like grandma in, and I could do that for other women. So it started that journey. I met who is my manager. She's my best friend, and she is my biggest advocate of my body and my body shape and whatever. So she's really helped. And then I started my journey looking into, what is this body confidence? What does it mean? What is body love? You know, I can't possibly eat normally and not actually be on a diet, because I'll just get huge, you know. So there's all these things. And I think COVID was the place that really forced me into my biggest change, because the business was closed and we'd gotten online, but we hadn't really worked on it. We are very much in-person people, you know. And my Karen messaged me. She runs all the sort of social side things, and she said to me, you need to start doing videos. And I was like, I don't think so. She's
not for me.
No. So it's like, she said to me, what's the problem with it? And I went, I'm going to get nasty comments. People are going to go, oh, you're fat, what you doing with pink hair, you know, it's going to be awful. And she said to me, what's more awful, losing the business or a few odd comments that I will manage anyway?
Yeah.
And I thought, God, that's quite scary. What if I do lose? So anyway, decision was made to start doing videos, which in the household, some people had a fabulous lockdown. I certainly didn't, I'm afraid. I'd had a son that moved in. My mother-in-law moved in. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, it was for the right reasons, but it was hard work.
Yeah, I'm sure.
So I recorded my first video after re-recording it probably around about 80 to be absolutely perfect. And I don't like that shot. We don't like that shot of me. And you know what? It's quite amazing. The response back was totally opposite of what I thought it would be. It was, oh my God, it's so lovely to see you. We're stuck at home. We miss you. We can't pop into the shop. All of these things. And so I thought, oh, this is okay. So I did a few, had some clothing at home. And I'm like, Karen, we're running out of stuff to do. I can't go to the shop because it wasn't local. You know, what do I do? She said, oh, do some, you know, scarf tying demonstrations. You're good at those. So I was like, do that. And then I look back now and I cannot believe that at the peak of what we were doing, because it was a really hot summer, I was doing cover-ups, and I actually appeared on a video with a swimsuit on, and I still can't believe I'd done that.
Brilliant.
it really propelled me into, I'd already been looking at body confidence and can I do this and how can I do it?
Yeah.
And it just propelled me. And while we were closed, I was keeping the business life, but I had time to read, look, do stuff. And that's where it sort of started. And then propelled even more in January 2021. My sister, the one who we were always doing diets together, I was trying to stop her dieting. She was still dieting at this point, and I had actually stopped. And she'd been isolated. She'd really bad asthmatic, so she'd been isolating from day one. And I saw her in the November. So that year, that first year, I think I saw her 3 times. And we spent an hour and a half in a car in masks in November because I had to rush her to the emergency vet so they could out. Me, if I catch this, I'm going to die. And she'd been digesting all the content, everything that was put out. And I said to her, please stop watching it because it's not all as it sounds.
Yeah.
And then in the January, I had this frantic phone call from her, January 2021. Her husband had contracted it from work. He was a train driver, so he had to work. And she'd isolated him. And then 2 days later, even more frantic, she'd contracted it. That was the Thursday. Saturday, she was admitted to hospital because she couldn't keep her oxygen levels. And we had our usual funny text chats and whatever. And then on the Monday, my brother-in-law phoned me and said the hospital have asked us to stop, texting her. She needs to rest, so we've got to phone the ward. They moved her to ICU. I wasn't overly concerned at that point because ICU is actually very good care. And then they talk of a ventilator and whatever. And then on the Friday morning, I had the phone call of my nightmares, and I was told my sister had died. She was 54 years old.
54, did you say? Sorry.
54, been on a diet since she was 8, and lived her whole life in body shame. And my world fell apart, literally.
Sure.
But then I just took over. I'm always seen as the strong one, the one who does. So my brother-in-law fell apart. I had to ring my dad. Oh my God, telling my dad was hideous. I organised the funeral of what we could have, which was barely anything. I made sure my niece and nephew, she's got children. They were 24 and 27. And so, I just went into overdrive, just did everything that to give her the best that we could at that point. And then the shop opened again, and then I was propelled back into it. So it was just I felt like I was on this roller coaster. It just wasn't stopping. And it wasn't till towards Christmas, and I knew something wasn't right. And obviously, having been in a bad situation before, I could feel it falling. And by the January, it wasn't good. And I took the decision to contact the doctors. And they put me on depression tablets. They put me on a list for grief counselling as well. And they were really good, actually. They did keep a regular checkup on me. And it was during all of that. So that was January. And then literally over the next few months, I had to wait quite a while for the grief counselling. And in the meantime, all I can say is I think coaching found me, and I can't even remember. And I'd done a little free certification to see if I liked it. And I thought, I really like this. This is forward focus. This will give me my chance to move on, to work out what's next, And so I did a full proper accreditation. I met some fabulous people. I was coached myself, which was great. I was also having grief counselling at the same time.
And my goodness.
I went into hospital for 3 months. It was everything. But do you know what? I think coaching was my lifesaver. And I totally believe that somehow she's the one that's pushed me to do this, because she knows that women should not be living like this. And it doesn't matter whether you've your ladies have obviously got a bigger obstacle because they've got the cancer or post-cancer, but there are, too many ladies who live like this, way too many ladies.
Absolutely.
And come to be where I am.
Oh, thank you for sharing your story. I want to give you a virtual hug. I mean, so much, so much sadness and so many, like you say, the life that your sister led and the thoughts that she'd had. And I absolutely agree with what you just said about mindset, because this is something I talk about all the time. We started with COVID and we were watching the news all the time, and we were waiting for 6 o'clock to see what Boris was going to say. And it came to a point where I was like, I cannot watch this anymore. No. I don't want to live my life in fear. I know, I want to keep myself safe. I want to keep my family safe. But I cannot have this constant fear. I'm telling myself that the world is a horrible, scary place, because is that really living? Is it? I don't think it is. No. And I'm like you as well with the coaching. I started my coaching journey. I've been dabbling in coaching for years, but after my cancer journey, I was like you've been through a lot, and you think, right, I'm going to feel victorious now, and I can take on the world, and I've beaten this. I had a very aggressive cancer. My diagnosis was not great. And then you get it wasn't exactly an all clear like you see on the films where they ring a bell and everybody dances around. It wasn't quite like that. They said, well, no evidence of disease at the moment, but you need to keep an eye on you because it's highly likely to come back, which is. But even getting to that, I thought, even getting that, you're all clear now. And I thought, this is great. Now I'm going to jump back into my own life and be the old person that I was. But I wasn't. I was broken. I was devastated. And a lot of it was about body image. That was a huge part of it. My confidence had just gone. I'd had a mastectomy. And when I talked to other people, I realized I was in a very fortunate position because I've been married to my husband many years. We've been together over 40 years. So I had that love and support. And, he just wanted me to get better. He just wanted me to survive. He wasn't concerned about mastectomy in that way. But I was devastated, and I didn't want to get undressed in front of him. I didn't want to be intimate with him. And then I'm speaking to other ladies who were single, other ladies that were dating that have told me this. That's a whole nother podcast of horrendous stories they've got. And I just think, the mindset to me, and I think that's changing your mindset is what coaching can do for so many people. That's what I see time and time again. So I'd really like to talk to you about that. How do people change their mindset to become more body confident? Because it might not just be that the surgery has done this to them. Most people, like me, when I look back, when I was a teenager and I was a skinny little thing, I thought I was fat.
Yes.
And so I've had this thing for years that my body image has never been good.
I think so with mindset, when we spoke briefly before, I thought about this and sort of before cancer and after cancer thing. And actually, it can go two ways. So the first thing I would be asking yourself is, where was I with my body before? Okay. So how did I feel about my body before? What did I like about it? Was there things I didn't like? Or was I really confident? Because you could have been really confident before, and then post the cancer, it could have knocked your confidence. So I get that. Sure. But sometimes I wonder whether we were truly body confident before, and if we weren't, the cancer has propelled that into something bigger.
Yes, so it puts things into focus. It really does. If you've got for instance, a bad relationship, the cracks will become bigger cracks when you go through something like that.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's also like cancer will be the biggest thing in your life, probably, that you've ever faced. And I think part of that mindset as well is about not letting it define you afterwards. Yeah. So it can be your story, and it's part of your story, and absolutely it's a powerful story, and it's fabulous to share with people who have been in the same position or a bit behind you, so you can give them guidance and stuff. But it's about not allowing that to define who you are. Because the other thing is, like you said, with relationships, now whether you're in a long-term relationship or whether you are looking for a relationship, the more confident you are with yourself, the better you will be in that relationship. Okay. Yeah. So the thing is, and that's a mindset thing. Confidence is definitely mindset. Okay. And I think whether you're looking for a partner, if you don't become really confident, you won't choose the best for yourself because you won't believe you're worth it. That's the first thing. And if you've got a long-term partner, of course, they all just want you to get better. That's absolutely normal. But they will think that you will come out afterwards feeling fabulous because you've got through it. But it doesn't work like that, because you are changed. Whether you've had a mastectomy or other things, or even just cancer, you are changed. Yeah. So it's getting to know you now, understanding you now, And I think, you know, for me, I work with different clients and their journeys are all individual. So I have frameworks that we work to, of course, but that doesn't often happen on a journey. Clients are all different and they need different things from me. And body confidence is a lot of things. So I might have a client who comes to me who is worried about their weight, or I might have a client that comes to me that looks beautiful but is worried about her age. The thing is, weight, age, I was trying to think of all the sort of external things, you know, all of that is external. And is being fed by something internally. And that internal generally comes round to a feeling of not being worth it.
Yeah.
And
time and time again. Time and time again, I've heard that. Yeah. Where does it all go back to? Not feeling good enough. And I'm a big fan of Louise Hay, and she talks about breast cancer being a result of not loving yourself. And some people think that's complete hooey and, you know, what a load of rubbish. But I truly believe that. So many breast cancer, that's my thing that I know the best. I know breast cancer survivors. A lot of them can't even, you know, we talk about loving yourself. They don't even like themselves. They don't even accept themselves. They're very hard on themselves. Some of the people I work with. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. And I see it. And there's what people don't realize either. And I did a sort of little, some work on this last week before on my socials, is there are 8 stages of body confidence. Okay. 8. I mean, people think there's just like 3 or something. It's not, it's 8. And the first one, body hate, is when you literally hate yourself. You can see nothing good about yourself. Okay. To the top one, which is body love. Body confidence is the one below that. And that's why I offer body confidence and not body love. There's 2 different things. Okay. Body love will come over time when you are body confidence stage and you continue doing the work on yourself. It's a bit like being married 40 years. Your love was there to start with, but it grows over time. Yeah. And body love is exactly the same. I always liken, like, when people worry about things like about their external appearance. I do something with my clients called the snail, which everybody laughs about. Okay. And what I try and liken it to is, you're separating 2 parts of your body. You separate the inner you from the outer you. Okay. And we focus very much on the outer because of societal standards, a lot of it, I'm afraid. And that has to stop. I mean, I'm so passionate about making that stop. Or certainly
yeah, you know, I've got granddaughters and a grandson as well, but I do worry about young women now, particularly social. You know, it was hard enough when I was a teenager of keeping up with the Joneses and keeping up with fashions, you know, which I never was one of the cool kids. But now social media, it's vicious, isn't it?
Yeah. It's vicious and it's destructive, and we have so many more mental health issues because of it. And we are being impounded by it because we're being told we shouldn't age. We're not valuable when we get older. We need to buy the next lotion or potion. Do you know what? You can do all of that. You can go and do everything external, but if you don't work on the internal, it will never be enough. You can lose stones in weight, but if you don't work on you, it will never keep off. And that's where I am a real true advocate of body confidence. You have to work on the inner you to love the outer you. Okay. It's as simple as that. But if you're a snail, if you liken yourself to a snail can't work without its shell, and the shell can't work without the body.
Of course. Yeah.
My body wouldn't function if I didn't have it covered in skin and whatever. And my body wouldn't function if I didn't have my inners. So snails are all unique. You know what? We can't see it. We think they all look the same. Some are fat and some are smaller. Some are bigger, some are taller. They all are unique. And that's what we are. We are unique. So if somebody says to you, oh, do a diet, do this exercise, do that, do that, do that, it's impossible. One size does not fit all when we all have unique DNA.
Yeah, of course.
And, you know, that's where you need to start, is start working with the stuff inside you, because we can all find stuff inside us that we like about ourselves.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. And sometimes people just need someone to hold their hand and show them the way, because I know that people will say, "Oh, there's nothing good about me. There's nothing special about me. I'm, and particularly in families, she's the clever one, she's the pretty one. I'm just nothing. I've heard that so many times. Yeah.
Yeah. And it will come from the simplest of comments that probably isn't meant in that way, but it's how we internalize everything, you see. And of course, these are our limiting beliefs. And mindset is about limiting beliefs. And to change your mindset, you have to start feeding yourself a different narrative.
Yeah, absolutely agree. And I've done a lot of personal development over the years. It's taken me a long, long time. Somebody, I've suffered with body image, I've suffered with anxiety and depression, all these things. But I see it in other people. It's much easier to see it in other people, isn't it? And I'm working now as a coach, and I can see it time and time again. And I see women, particularly because I've worked mostly with women, living small lives, living, they're not expressing themselves. They're not living the joyful lives they could live if they just had that belief in themselves. And it's so sad, but it's great, that you're out there doing the work that you're doing. It's fabulous. I was a little bit like you. I started doing the podcast, and there was the little voice saying, well, who are you to do a podcast? Who are you to go on YouTube? What are you thinking of? You're nearly 60. But I've done it. And, I started off with a script, like really nervous reading. And now I'm thinking, I'm talking to people, and the feedback is great because people want connection. And I think that was one of the big things we lost in COVID.
Absolutely.
And I still see it now. Some people are still scared of making the connections, but they can do it online if that's how they want to work. You can do it online, and I presume you work with people online as well. Is that right, Belinda?
I do, yes. I mean, I very rarely do in person because it limits how many people I can help as well. But this, the fact that you can see each other, the fact that we have this technology that allows us to do this, it feels really connected. And the great, the great thing about coaching that I love about it is that and I love it when I am still coached now. It's when someone else, and I'm a coach, but when someone else sees your blind spots, that's what it's about, isn't it? And we've all got them. We don't think we have, but we really have. And it's uncovering those blind spots. And when they happen, the realization is like, oh yeah, okay, I didn't realize. Okay, so, and then you sort of explore with them how they want to move forward, because there's so many things you can do, isn't there? And it's not right for everybody. Everybody's different. Everybody needs something different. Everybody learns differently as well. So that's the great thing. There's so many ways that you can become body confident, and it's some of it is the simplest things. And it's so funny. Some of my clients are like, but that's really small. And then I'll do 12 weeks with them. And by week 6, 7, and 8, they're all of a sudden realizing what's happened in those 6, 7 weeks, And I think that's fabulous. I absolutely love it. I am so interested in the brain and how it works and processes. And it's
beautiful. Yeah, it is. It's fascinating stuff. So if people wanted to get in touch with you, Belinda, what's the best way? I'm going to post all the links to your socials. I know you're active on social media. Yes. I'll post the links below, but what's the best way for people to get in touch with you if you'd like to learn more about the work that you do?
I think, first of all, just join my website. It's pretty comprehensive. So it's www.belindawarburton.com. And the first page is a little synopsis with some links. The second page is my story, so you can read the whole story from there. The third page is where you can read about how my coaching works. And you can book a free discovery call. So it's a 1-hour call, no obligation. But the beauty about that is, one, you can see me and we can talk, because I only work with people if I feel that we're a right fit, because you don't fit everybody. We're not one size fits all. And you can decide whether I'm a good fit for you, and you will experience coaching during that session. So you will get an idea of what it's about. I can find out what you're expecting. And then we can talk from there. So I love that discovery session. It's probably one of the most powerful things as a coach that we do. And at the end, if you decide it's not for you, then that's absolutely fine. You've still had it. You've still had that experience. Yeah. So that's on there. And then on the next page is free resources, free book you can download that I wrote, and the link to my free Pink Power Body Confidence Hub Facebook group. It's a private group. I keep it very safe because I don't want any nastiness in there. And it's growing all the time. The great thing about the group is I'm very active on my normal socials, and they're all on the website as well. So you can link to Instagram and Facebook. But in my private group, they get me live every week.
Brilliant.
topic of the week, so they can interact, listen, ask me questions, whatever. So they get a bit more of me. Yeah, if that's the right way to say.
But again, it's more connection, isn't it? It's just more connection. So yeah, you're on a screen, but you're talking to people, you're talking about them, not just about, you know, general concepts. It's about them and their issues, and you're there for them. And I love that people can reach out to you, you know, whatever issues they've got. You're in that small private group. They can talk to you one-to-one as well. There's so much help available for people just to explore. Where if they've listened to this podcast and thought, there's something in there that, you know, that resonates with me, I'd like to know more about that, then I'd really urge people who are listening and watching, just get in touch with Belinda, have that call, or go to the Facebook group and just find out a little bit more. Because, you know, it could be the thing you just need, that little bit of help to get you to that next level where you are more body confident and you can start living a more joyful life, which is what we all want, isn't it?
Absolutely. And we all want to live pretty authentically, because the only way you'll be happy is if you live authentically to who you are. If you put yourself at the bottom of the list all the time and put everybody else in front of you, at some point you will burn out, because you can't help everyone else if you don't help yourself. That's so important. And I always say to women who have got children, and I don't have children, but I see it time and time again, where they'll say, oh, well, no, you know, my daughter wants some money, so I'll just give her the money or whatever. And I just said to someone the other day, and she went, oh, I don't like you saying that. So I said, what do you mean? She went, no, because it's truthful. And I said to her, the mother you want your daughter to be.
Oh, that's a good way of twisting that thought around, because you do as a mother, it's sort of almost a primal thing of, I don't know if it's society conditioning to think you come last, the children come first, and if you're a good mother and you're a good woman, that's what you should do. But I really like that. That's good.
Because actually they're learning from you. And I learned from my sister's experience of being on diets. That's what I learned. And that's not a good way to be. So if you can give your children a really good experience where they know that they can be unique, where they know they can stand out from the crowd, they don't have to follow. Like, do you know what I mean? You are making a big difference in the younger generation already if you do that. And I love what I do. I'm very passionate, as you can probably tell. I'm 51 years old. And I am not, someone said to me, oh, at 50, I felt like I'd disappeared. Well, I'm not disappearing anytime soon. So
I don't think you are. I don't think you are either.
I'm definitely not. And the other thing on my website is there's a journal that I've created. It is chargeable, but it's not expensive. But it's a 12-week. You can do it yourself. It asks you some really interesting questions. It's not the exact framework that I use, because, like I said, everybody's journey is individual, but it's got a lot of stuff in there. If you want to have a go, try yourself. It's a downloadable or it's a hard copy sent to you. So that's on there. I mean, literally, I am an open book. I feel anybody can ask me anything, and I will be as truthful as I possibly can. And if they, you know, as truthful as I can in the nice way as well. There's no need to be mean to anybody. But you know, I'm a coach, you're a coach. We do see the blind spots. And that's, you know, if we can't ask you the uncomfortable questions, you're never going to grow.
No, that's true. You're never going to grow. Thank you so much, Belinda. It's been an absolute joy to speak to you. I think we need to do another podcast, because, as I said, this subject is huge. And it's a massive subject. So I'm sure we'll be doing another podcast on another topic. But thank you so much for your time. I'll post all the links that we talked about before, so people can get in touch with you, download your journal, look at the website, look at your Facebook group. So thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much, Gabby. I shall keep in touch with you. And
absolutely.
If I've helped anybody today, I've done my job. I've done what I set out to do.
I'm looking forward to seeing the feedback, but I'm sure that you have. Thank you, Belinda. Take care, my love.
Thank you, Gabby. Bye.
Bye-bye. Wow. Well, I hope you enjoyed this week's podcast and my wonderful guest, Belinda Warburton. I love talking to her. I hope you can tell that. Such a fascinating woman. So brutally honest in parts of her story about the difficulties that she's faced in her life, but how she's overcome it, the things that she's learned from the challenges that she's been through. What I loved, so many things I loved about what she said, but one of the big things that I've talked about before, and Belinda sort of, you know, reaffirmed that, is that mindset is everything. You know, the way we talk to ourselves. She talked about relationships and the problems that you can have in a relationship, but really the most important relationship you've got is with yourself. If you can look at yourself in the mirror and be happy with the person that you see looking back at you, and realizing you're not perfect, my love, because nobody is. None of us are perfect. We all make mistakes. We've all got things maybe that we want to work on and maybe that we want to improve. That doesn't mean you can't love yourself. That doesn't mean you can't accept yourself for the wonderful, beautiful person that you are. And you know, if you need help with your body image, you need help with your confidence, I'm here for you. You know, I am. Confidence After Cancer is my thing. I specialize in helping people like me who have struggled when cancer treatment finishes. For me, that was when I felt my confidence just fell off a cliff. I felt my life was in free fall. I didn't know who I was. I'd lost all sense of identity. And Belinda's work is very similar to that. She specializes in body image with people who are not happy about the way they look. And I know for cancer survivors, that can be a huge thing. Talk to so many people who struggle after surgery. Even if you have a reconstruction, you know, you will know it's not the same as, your body's never the same as it was before the cancer. Even if you don't have surgery, chemo can ravage your body. Radiotherapy can ravage your body. But do you know what? So can aging. Aging is a natural thing that we've almost become to believe is something wrong with you if you age. And yet, you know, you see it in on social media, actresses or people in the public eye being criticized because they're looking old or they've got wrinkles or whatever. Getting older and aging is a privilege denied to many. And I try to remember that when I count my blessings. I've survived my cancer. It's my privilege to help other people. I think Belinda's got the same attitude as well. She's been through a hell of a lot. She's had a lot of challenges I've never experienced. You know, we've all got our stories. We've all had our dark days, but it's really what you do with that learning and how you move forward in life. And you really can make the rest of your life the best of your life. And if you need help, I'm here for you. Belinda's here for you. I'll post her social links below this. Thank you so much for listening. Have a blessed day. Take care, my darling. Stay safe. Stay sane. Bye-bye.